Hi, I'm Carla Jones, and today we're going to make pâte à choux. Pâte à choux is also known as the base recipe for cream puffs or petit choux, profiterole, croque en bouche, and many other fabulous French delicacies that start off with the pâte à choux. The pâte à choux is very easy to make. You need water, butter, sugar, salt, eggs, and flour, and that is it. So let's start by using the water. We need to heat up the water with the butter. There's 250 milliliters of water, or 1 cup. To it we add 100 grams of butter, or a little bit less than half a cup of butter. We put 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, which is 5 grams. In French baking, it's very important to use the grams instead of the cups, because the recipes might not come out the same way. Grams are very precise. It's a very precise measure of weight, whereas cups do not always weigh the same. A cup of flour, a cup of flour and a cup of sugar do not weigh the same. So always best to use the weight measurement instead of the cup measurement. Okay, while this heats up, we're going to sift the flour. There's 150 grams of flour, or approximately 1 1/4 cups of flour. So the water that's being heated right now, what we need to do is ensure that the butter gets melted and that the water reaches its first initial moments of boiling. Do not let the water boil too long, as boiling will evaporate the water, and we need the measurements to be precise for a perfect choux or profiterole. So the water here is all heated. It's boiled for about a second. Just make sure the butter gets melted in properly. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add the flour all at once. There you go. And mix this, making sure that there are no lumps of flour left in the dough. The way we do this is by mixing it, the way you would always just mix any kind of batter. And also, like flattening it out, squeezing out the lumps of the flour. And what we want to do now is make sure that there are no lumps of flour and that the dough gets mixed to a nice silky texture. So see, it looks pretty good right now. We'll return that to the heat. I put it at about medium heat so it doesn't go too fast. And what we want to do is heat it and keep mixing it so it doesn't burn until the dough dries out. You'll know it's dried out when it no longer sticks to the sides of your pot. And I'll show you another trick once we get there. This only takes a couple of minutes, so you have to work fast and never stop mixing. We don't want it to burn. So this one's gonna work very well. Here we go, we're getting there. If you put your finger, nothing sticks to it. So this is ready for the eggs. There we go. Okay. You get a clean bowl, and you put the batter in the dough in the bowl. And now we're going to add the eggs one by one. In French baking, it is important to use medium-sized eggs, at least if you're doing a traditional recipe. And it is important to add the eggs one by one. This helps you to, if you crack the eggs on the side first, it helps you to ensure that you're not using any rotten eggs. And here we add 1 egg at a time and we mix it well. Now, when we were heating the water, what we were doing, when we were heating drying the dough with the flour, what we were doing is activating the gluten that's in the flour, which is, the gluten acts as a sort of glue to ensure that everything sticks together. And the egg, the reason why we add one by one is because, for two reasons. One, mixing it will give the batter, the dough, some air, and we want our choux to be nice, light, and airy. And the other reason is because we are looking for an exact point of texture. And if you add too many eggs at once, you might skip that point altogether and have to start all over. Now I'm doing this by hand. You can do this with an electric mixer, but again, you need to be familiar with the end result that you're looking for in the batter's texture. So we've added one. It's still quite dry. We're going to add another egg. Okay, so we're getting there. You see this is getting a lot creamier. I'm going to add one more egg. If you're not sure whether the recipe needs an entire egg or just half of it, you can put in just half of the egg. If you choose to put just you can mix it and put a little bit, half of the entire egg, or you can use just the egg white, which will give the choux a more crispy, airy finish. Or if you prefer, you can add just the yolk. The yolk will add color and flavor. So in this case, I started by adding just the white. I'm not sure that I'm going to need an entire egg for this. So it looks like we're almost there. What you want is for the dough to fall in clumps. We're not quite there yet, so we can probably add this yolk. And here we go. This is now clumpy. There we go. That's perfect. That's exactly the texture we want to look for. Now, before I forget, the oven needs to be preheated to 250 degrees Celsius, which I think is 475 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so we have our dough. It's all ready to go. You get a tip. A big tip is good for the big choux, but there's different sizes. You can have them all different sizes. This one is 10 millimeters diameter, okay? And the best thing to do is to just put it in the piping bag, cut the tip off, turn it here. With your thumb, just insert the bag in there. That way you can fill the piping bag safely without the dough falling out the other end. Turn it over your hand and just hold it like a bouquet of flowers. You can open it up and then just let it squeeze out. Now, to pipe a perfect choux, you must have the piping bag absolutely vertical with your plaque. You start at the bottom about 1 centimeter off the ground, off the plaque. And once you get to the width that you wish to have, you start lifting it up very slowly. And once you're done, you stop squeezing and you give it a little turn. That one's a bit big, but we'll do a few more. There we go. Okay. As you may have noticed, I have the choux on a silicone mat. The silicone mat is great because it has little micro holes in it, which allows the air to circulate from the top and from the bottom. It's good for very airy desserts like the choux, or for pie shells, pie crusts as well. Okay. So the oven has been preheated to 250 degrees. What we're going to do now is put this plaque in the oven and turn off the oven for about 10 minutes. This will allow the oven's temperature to reduce down to about 180 degrees Celsius and 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And it'll also allow the choux to grow and to dry on the outside. After those 10 minutes, we've turned the oven back on to 180 degrees. and leave them in there for another 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the size of your choux and how many you have on your plaque or in your oven. So that's about it. We'll put this in the oven and we'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay, well then we're back now. Our choux are all ready. As a reminder, we had the oven preheated at 250 degrees Celsius or 475 degrees Fahrenheit. When the dough was ready, we put them in the oven, turned off the oven, and left them in there for 10 minutes to rise and dry out. After those 10 minutes were up, we turned the oven back on to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it is important not to open the oven door during this whole entire process. Air will make the choux sink and not very pretty. So what you're looking for is a choux that is cooked evenly all around. If you turn one over and knock it, it should sound quite hollow on the inside. So what we're going to do now is fill them with whipped cream. We're going to take a bread knife and very carefully cut through the middle of it. Careful not to cut your fingers. From experience, I can tell it hurts very much. Okay, and there we go. The inside should look quite dry. Often if you haven't left them in long enough, or if the heat in the oven was too high, then what happens is the inside looks doughy, okay? So here we have the whipped cream all ready to go. It's already in the piping bag, and we've put a star tip for the whipped cream, okay? So we're gonna start by going around in circles and pressing a nice gentle, there you go, flour like that. This on side. Put the lid back on, the little hat. There we go. And we can decorate it with a little icing sugar. And there's our first choux. Put it over here. We'll do another one. Let's take this one. So when you slice the choux in two, it's important to leave a good base so it'll act as a little box. So what you want to do is basically create a box with a lid. Okay? So this one will fill it up as well. Whoop. Now, I like to make them quite high. It's funny to see your guests trying to eat a choux that is 4 inches tall. Plus, it adds to the drama of the whole thing. Very tall choux. And here we go. And here you have it. Choux filled with whipped cream and decorated with icing sugar. Enjoy.